Welcome back to OpenAI, where I show you daily how to start leveraging artificial intelligence in your personal and your business life. You clicked on today's video as I'm going to show you how to automatically create lead generating PDFs that are specific to your leads data that you receive. Now, in this specific context, we're going to use three major softwares. We're going to use Zapier, the automation software. We're going to use OpenAI's API, which is going to allow us to use AI. And then finally, we're going to use Google Slides. This is going to allow us to create the lead generating PDF. What's great is that Zapier is free to use as a beginner. OpenAI only costs fractions of pennies per AI execution. And finally, Google Slides, as we all know and love, is free to use. This is going to be an alternative to a software called Bannerbear, if you're familiar with that. We're going to be able to do the same thing and get the same type of execution. Now, with that being said, we're going to do a ton in this video. To start off this video, I'm going to create the template of the underlying PDF. The way I'm going to structure today's video is going to be three major parts. So this first part is going to be me essentially structuring a Google Slides presentation to have the view or look of a underlying PDF. We're going to add variable points here that we're going to be able to manipulate later in our automation. The second part of this tutorial is we're going to actually build out the automation itself. And in my specific context, it's going to be when I receive a transcript post-meeting from a potential lead, it's going to automatically create a specific PDF tailored to that entire conversation I had with that lead. And then finally, I'm going to do some API webhooks. It's going to get a little bit complex, but I think you're going to really like it because I'm going to show you how to take this presentation and using some custom work, we're going to automatically export it as a PDF. Therefore, we can not only send it to our team, we could also send it to the potential lead. And what's great is once you set up this process, it's going to be all automatic. Therefore, if you're dealing with a real estate client, you're dealing with an insurance client, whatever the scope of breadth that you're dealing with, you're going to be able to create automatic lead PDFs that are now specific and niche down. All right, enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and start. So you're going to want to use Google Slides. This is going to allow us to create the PDF. And you can leave it in this widescreen, but personally, I like it when PDFs are vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here to page setup. And we're going to go ahead and do custom. And the standard size of a piece of paper is going to be 11 or 9 by 11, not 17. All right, perfect. So now we got our this is when it exports, it's going to be a vertical orientation. So now we need to start adding some design here, and we're going to be able to come back to this a little bit later in this tutorial. First, let's start adding some design here. So there's going to be fixed variables, and there's going to be just regular, variables that we input data. So maybe for this context, what we'll do is we'll take the place of WebCafe AI, an automation software solution business, and we're going to go ahead and just put WebCafe AI here. I will say that on your specific presentation, maybe take a little bit of time. We're going to do this fast just so you can get an idea of what's occurring here. So don't mind how the design looks. We're going to go ahead and just take one of these standard templates over here. And we're going to do WebCafe AI, and we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and grab our current logo and bring it in here real quick. Okay, so I went ahead and imported the image from our desktop here. Let's put it right next to there. Looks nice, looks great. We're going to go to say, let's work together. Like I said, our copy's not going to be amazing here as I just want to show you the functionality. You can take your time on it. So we're going to say, let's work together. And in order to input variable data points within a PDF, you have to do these two curly brackets, and we'll put lead name. So we're going to be able to call upon this later in our later automations. And we're going to go ahead and just increase the size here. Let's go over here. And what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and change the color of this. And this should be good. So as I said before, this is completely free, which is really nice. You don't have to pay anything to use Google Slides from here, even to use their API, which is really great. If you are trying to use Gmail's API, just as a side note, you're going to have to need a workspace account, which actually increased. It's going to be $7 a month at the bare minimum. From here, though, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of more context here. So I'm going to go ahead and just decrease this and move this in a little bit. And let's say, major points, semicolon, and we'll do 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 major points that maybe were found within the call, and this will make more sense as we develop this together here. And let me go ahead and put this in the center. And from here, this is where we're going to put the curly brackets again. I'm going to do point 1, curly bracket, and we'll do point 2 and point 3. But here's the situation, because I know when this input data kit comes in, it's going to be a little bit larger than you'd expect. So I'm going to go ahead and do, we'll do 19. And we will actually just do this. I'm going to drag this over here. And we're going to go Command A this, put this all the way to the left. And here we go. And then let's go ahead and give us some spacing here so it doesn't look so jumbled up. There we go. All right, so this is gonna be a first page here. We got the underlying client name that we just had the call with, and we have the major points within the call, whatever that may be in your context. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add another page here. So if I can do that, why does this seem so hard to me? Okay, let's do that. There we go. And let's go ahead and put this as, question and answer. And, maybe we lay out, just for a quick recap, the questions and answers that were found within the call, so it's, clear on the underlying client side. So we're going to just say questions. And I'm going to leave it like that. We're going to go ahead and we can format that later, or we can just leave it like that for now. So I'm going to do this. And then the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do statement of work, SOW, and we'll go ahead and just input SOW. So very simple. We could add more here, pizzazz. I could add a link. There's a ton of stuff you can add here. You can add a link. You can add more images. You can add, more just fixed information. So maybe there's a last page here of just like typical work we do with clients, whatever it may be. But for now, we have what we need. So we have any input data that is relevant to us, and we can go ahead and start beginning our process here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this. This is saved, and let's go ahead and jump over to Zapier. Now that we're over in Zapier, as I said before, it is completely free to start using. But as you'll notice, and if you're familiar with this channel, there's going to be a ton of automations that you can really streamline in your business. So you'll probably be inclined to start using this at scale. But I'm going to create a new Zapier in our public Zaps. Everything you just saw there was just everything we've done on this channel. We've done over 800 videos when it comes to automations. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new Zapier. We're going to say lead. We're going to say AI lead PDF. And the way we're going to structure this is, if you're familiar with how your underlying software records and transcribes your meetings, go ahead and learn that. For Google Meets, the way it works is that post a call, it will automatically be added to a Google Drive folder. Now, knowing this, if you use Zoom or any other type of software, you can still achieve the same effect with two major troubleshoots. The first one, for example, if you're using Zoom, is you can easily set up a Zapier like this, where once the meeting is done, you'll automatically add it to a Google Drive folder in that context. The second one is, if you use Google Meet, what you're about to see is going to work, integrated well, because that's essentially what we do here. So I'm going to go ahead and do Google Drive. And this is essentially identifying that the only time this animation will trigger is when a new file is added to a very specific folder. Therefore, we're not expending too much here. So we're going to say new file in folder. I'm going to hit continue here. I'm going to go ahead and go for main account here. And continue here. I'm going to go ahead and find the specific folder real quick that we have our transcripts in. For anybody that used Google Meets recordings, it's going to be called Meet Recording. So as you see, that is meeting recordings. I'm going to go ahead and find the specific transcript that we already got the go ahead from our client in this context. If you actually want to see that call, you can check it out up there. From here though, I'm going to go ahead and find that and push on with that data. Okay, so if you are familiar with the way it downloads, it will have transcript in the title. Therefore, we don't necessarily need to add this, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this just in case you do have other additional files that incur within that folder, such as the MP4. You're going to want to go ahead and say that the title contains transcript. So that's going to ensure that if the MP4 gets loaded up there, it doesn't trigger this event and we can exit it out. But we are just looking for the transcript here. And as we know, it does have the title transcript in it because it is a transcript. So from here though, we're going to go ahead and find the actual document ID. This is going to allow us to grab the data that's associated with this transcript. I'm going to go ahead and do find document. I went ahead and switched around the folder we're dealing with today just for security reasons, and I just went ahead and named it test data. I'm going to go to our main account here. I'm going to go ahead and continue, and from here I'm going to do our folders. I went ahead and named it test lead, and the specific name we're looking for is the title that we found before, which is perfect. So I'm going to hit continue here, test this step. Okay, perfect. So the reason we did it that way is because the thing we're looking for here is going to be the file. And more specifically, it's a data point called file exists but not shown. You'll see what I'm talking about here soon. I'm going to go ahead and create a code block here. And the purpose of the code block here is Zapier currently doesn't showcase the actual text within a file. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. So you actually have to use code in order to extract it. Don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and put this code in the description or a comment down below so you can go and check it out there. From here, we're going to go ahead and run JavaScript. And we're going to go ahead and use this code right here. And we'll use the input data, which is going to be this text right here, as the variable that we want to extract the underlying words from. As you see here, we are extracting up to 10,000 words. And we can go ahead and say find document. And the specific data point we care about is going to be file exists but not shown. Not that one. We want the Google Doc one. So let me go ahead and do that again. File exist but not shown. File text. We're gonna hit continue here, and then we're gonna go ahead and test this step. There we go. So as you see, we got the entire output to the right here. And now we can start, messing with the data, getting the relevant information that we need for our lead PDF. So if we jump back over to our lead PDF, we had a couple major points. We had the name, we had 3 major points, we had question and answers, and we had statement of work. So let's go ahead and break that down one by one. First thing we can do here is we're gonna do a ChatGPT block. Purpose of this ChatGPT block is we're gonna go ahead and identify the underlying name that's associated with the lead. There is multiple ways I could do this. In theory, I could go and do a Google Calendar event here where I am finding the lead that way, because in theory, it would have been Rumen and WebCafe AI. I would have known that I'm WebCafe AI and Rumen's the client. I'm going to show you a way that doesn't necessarily use the Google Calendar route, and we're going to go ahead and just do it directly from the data that we received from this Google document. We're going to say, based on this transcript, we are the business of WebCafe AI. Please generate the name of the potential lead we are talking with. We're going to say just the name, no text before or after. Now, I may have to up the model here. I'm going to try with GPT 3.5 first. Actually, we'll be fine because we can just use the title of the transcript. So I'm going to say title of transcript. I don't have to actually load the entire front load the data. So I can do it like this. And you might be saying, what's the title of the transcript? It's just the title right here. And you'll see that it's very small data points. So we can honestly use GPT 3.5 Turbo. We're going to say name, lead. You want to ensure memory keys. This ensures consistent outputs at scale. And let's go ahead and see if we just get the word Rumen. And if we do, we can go ahead and proceed from here. And this will be really, there we go. So we got our name Rumen here. This is going to be our block for the name. Sadly, I would share this Zapier in the description down below, but the problem is that since there is a code block, Zapier doesn't let me do that yet. In the future, when Zapier does allow me share Zaps with code blocks, I'll be able to do that. From here, though, we're going to go ahead and add another ChatGPT block here. And if you remember correctly, the next step here is going to be the 3 major points. So to do that, we're going to do another conversation. And just to lessen the load here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And we're going to come back over here. And because we don't know how long a transcript is, but we can assume it's going to be pretty lengthy, we can go ahead and make sure we up our model to GPT 3.5 16K. The reason we do that is it can handle more data coming in, therefore it leads to less errors. So we're going to say, based on this transcript, we are the business WebCafe AI talking to a potential lead about AI integration. So I'm going to go ahead, period there, and not a ponytail. Come on. All right, potential. If I was really going to try to format this perfectly, I'll try to use less superfluous words, but for now, this should be fine. We're going to go ahead and say lead transcript. We're going to semicolon parentheses here, and we're going to go ahead and input the output here from this JavaScript, which will be this results. We're going to say generate 3 major points about this call. And let's see if this is sufficient enough. We will find out together. I'm going to go ahead and say major points. Typically, you'd want to add maybe more prompt structuring on what you specifically want. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and see if this is sufficient. I think this is sufficient. So we got the potential lead. Rumen is looking for automation in responding to property leads. For their online agency, they receive leads in various formats. The WebCafe AI offers to provide templates for each specific property. Rumen uses Outlook as their email client. So like 3 major points within that call. Where is the kind of like the idea of the call, what we will provide, and then specific software that's used in the call. So for us, that would be perfect. We're going to say major points. Now we're going to have to do one thing here. And I wanted to keep it. And if you notice, it's 1, 2, 3. This isn't one data block. So in order to ensure that this comes out perfectly, we're going to go ahead and use a formatter block here. This is going to allow us to split that one big block that we just saw there into 3 different data points. Because if we were just to continue with that data point, it wouldn't output correctly, and you'll see why later on. So we're going to use formatter here. We're going to do an event of split text, and we're going to go ahead and take the output from ChatGPT. So that's going to be our input, major points. It's going to be reply. We're going to do an event of not disappearing. That's not the event. We're going to do, let's try new line first. So this is how they like, this is the documentation on Zapier side. New line. Don't ask me why. If you want to learn more about the documentation, you can just click more and then click here. And then for here, since we want to do separate fields, we're going to say all as separate fields. In this context, that means all as separate data points. So we should getting a split here between these. And let's go to see test step here and then see if that works. There we go. Item 1, item 2, item 3. So we're going to be able to use that later on in this flow. The next thing we were doing was the Q&A. So this should actually be pretty simple here. Let me just show you a real quick trick. So it saves you time when building out flows. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this because of the fact that contextually we're dealing with the same transcript. There is no major changes in the beginning part for the context we provide of the automation we're creating. So we're going to go ahead and just call this question and answer. And we're going to hit check mark here. They continue here. And then based on this transcript, we are a business of WebCafe AI talking to a potential lead about AI integration. Generates all let's say all relevant question and answers. So let's see how it formats this. As we know, we're going to use 3.516K. I'm going to go and do Q and A. That rhymed on accident. Leave a like just because it rhymed on accident. I'm going to continue here. I'm going to test this step. So what you'll notice though is I'm going to go ahead and take this one step further just for everyone to understand. So this is going to give me the question and answers. It's going to work fine and the output will be fine. The next and the last one is a statement of work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually compress the data here, and then I'm going to use GPT-4 to provide a statement of work because the fact that statement of works probably require a little bit more comprehension. So that's when you typically increase a model from GPT 3.5 to 4 is when you need more comprehension. As you see here, we got all the relevant questions and answers, such as, and this is question and answers that happen in that transcript in that call, specific to Rumen. So that's what makes it so cool. So we got, does WebCafe AI add attachments or signatures to the email templates? No, WebCafe AI's emails typically consist of a generic body HTML with information about the listed property. What platform does WebCafe AI use for responding to WebCafe user Outlook? Are there, stuff like this is like relevant information that we talked about in that call. So from here, we can go ahead and keep that output, but let's go ahead and do a compressor block here. And actually, let's go ahead and show that little trick I did earlier so we don't have to keep going like that. We're going to say duplicate. And we're going to go ahead and say, based on this transcript, we're going to say generate a compressed version giving us a general SOW, it's spelled out, statement of work for this client. So I'm going to first let it give me its version of a statement of work. I could give more context of what we like in the statement of work, but what I plan on doing is I'm going to one-up this, and I'm actually going to use a ChatGPT 4 block in order to kind of mold the compression version. Now, the reason I can't just take this transcript and use a 4 model right now is because that's too much data. That's too much data for GPT-4 to handle. You're going to lead to higher error rate. Just the outputs won't be as reliable. So what you want to do in these contexts is you want to take big data, compress, and then use GPT-4 as a way to actually, at scale, handle this kind of operation. So from here, we should get an output here of some type of mock statement of work. As you see here, this is GPT's version of what it understands of what a possible statement of work can be. So what I'm going to do here is that it's not going to be perfect, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make it, we're going to perfect it. So we're going to do SOW compressed. I'm going to do a ChatGPT 4 block here. And for this block, this is going to be the data we actually push towards. And this may be whatever context you are using ChatGPT, or you're using this entire flow. It's going to be whatever context you have for that. So maybe this is essentially when you deal with, this is important information that's about to be placed automatically on a PDF. This needs to be right. Some stuff like the major points, like as long as you hit 80%, 90% of like, yeah, it's right, it's not as important. This is important. So we're going to say, based on this SOW we received for WebCafe AI, do semicolon parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and put the SOW. Actually, let's do SOW semicolon parentheses, and we'll put that output here. We're going to say generate a statement of work that follows these guidelines. Is we're going to put it out. So we're going to say, guideline 1, typical work takes 1 to 2 weeks to complete. Guideline 2, minimum, let's say our CRM is Basecamp. Guideline 3, list all software relevant. I mean, this is whatever is specific to your statement of work, and we can just, put one last one, 50% up. Oh, not that. 50% up front and other 50% on completion. So whatever's relevant to your specific company, this could get a lot more detailed, a lot more specific. Obviously, I just want to show y'all how to do this. So I'm going to keep from there. We're going to go ahead and make sure we up our model to GPT-4 here. And this is going to allow for us to get a more comprehensive output. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that doesn't glitch. SOW4. And that can be a random string of 32 characters, FYI. I'm going to continue here and test this step. So it's going to take the compressed version of the statement of work, and it's going to compress it even further to be more specific and tailored to what we care about. Now, one thing I want to point out is GPT-4 does take some time to operate. You'll notice 3.5 is a lot faster in this process. You're not receiving a glitch. This is not an error. This isn't specific to you. This is just a general thing about OpenAI's GPT-4. Also, I want to point out, as a rule of thumb, when a automation is occurring, every step's going to wait for this step. Don't worry about, this one fast, the next one's going to go fast and it's going to skip over this output. That's not how this works in this context. It's all chronological. So therefore, in order for it to continue, we need an output here. And as you see, we just got our output, and we got the relevant statement of work for the Web Cafe integration specific to that underlying individual. Craft unique templates for each property listing that reflects the property details. Obviously, I give more context here, even go as far as give an example statement of work, so it really ensures consistent outputs. But from here, we have successfully used AI to automatically get the relevant information for our data points. Therefore, we can jump over to Google Slides. And in Google Slides, this is where the magic happens, and we're going to be able to create that underlying presentation. So I'm going to do an event here. We're going to say create presentation from template. We're going to hit continue here, and then we're going to use the name of the presentation. And since this is going to be a very standardized presentation template, we can go ahead and copy this lead PDF example, and we'll hit that. We could save it. So in theory, you could skip this next process I'm about to show you here, and we could share it to the email of the client, or we just keep it in our backend. So from here, though, we're going to do the template presentation, lead PDF example. And actually, I just realized the title of the presentation, we can actually change this. This is going to be how it exports and how it looks. So for the title of the presentation, let's actually just do what we did over here, right? So we're going to say, Rumen, we'll say, welcome to Web Cafe AI. This is going to be how the title of the presentation and then later on the PDF is going to look. So let's begin here. So we got lead name. Come over here and we go to name. Here we go. Every single way you get the ChatGPT output you care about is going to be reply. Then we got point 1. Now, as I said earlier, if you were to mistakenly do this, it's going to do point 1, 2, and 3 all in one data point. That's why we did the formatter block. Formatter block allowed us so we can grab point 1 from output item 1. And then let me go ahead and fix this. And then pointer 2 would be the second output here. And then pointer 3 will be obviously the third output here. So we'll be good on that now. We don't have to worry about a mess in scale. From here, though, we can go ahead and add our questions. Since we didn't really do any post formatting here, we can go ahead and add it like that. And then finally, the last part that we just created here, we can go ahead and ignore the compressed version of the statement of work and put the regular version of the statement of work, or the GPT version. Let's go ahead and continue, test this step, and let's see what the live action PDF looks like. Okay, so as you see here, the presentation is good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and find it in my drive real quick. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna go and click that. As you see here, we got our relevant name, the specific data point here. Okay, so take into account that you will probably need to have it so that the underlying text is a lot smaller, so that kind of issue doesn't occur. But as you see here, we're getting all the relevant information that we just created here. Let's not do that. I'm gonna Command A this. Oh, that is why it's doing that. Okay, Command A this, and then go to make smaller here. We're getting all the relevant information that we care about. I probably could get maybe a smaller amount of question and answers, stuff of this nature. Especially look at this. I mean, maybe remove the twos, right? Because it automatically has it there. But as you see here, as a general rule of thumb, we are getting consistent and the outputs of what we care about here. So as you see here, we got the overview, scope of work, deliverables, then we got the questions and answers, then we got the name here, and we got the major points about this call. Now this is all specific data. This isn't ChatGPT making up stuff. This entire PDF is based off that transcript that we just had. Therefore, logistically, how this works is when you get off that call, this is going to happen automatically when the transcript's ready. So when you add it to your folder, then boom, this PDF is being made with all the AI prompts. It's getting push. So let's go ahead and jump into stage 3 of this entire process. And for one, you can either share the presentation itself, but let's go ahead and refine it a little bit, make it a PDF, and in theory, send it as an email. Okay, so now that we have our presentation made, our next step here is going to be another Google Slides, and we're going to find that presentation. So the way we do that is we're going to do Google Slides again, and we're going to go ahead and do an event here, which is going to be find presentation. So we're doing this so we can grab the underlying ID associated with this Google slide. So we're going to do find presentation, and we should be able to do with the name. What's great is we already know the name. So we already titled it here, and we should be able to get the underlying ID associated with this presentation we just created, which is going to be great. And then we're going to be able to jump into maybe the more complex side of this tutorial. And this is the ID we care about. And we're going to be able to export it as a PDF. So now I tried with 2 different routes actually continuing with this method. What I found though was the outputs were coming out to be text documents. It seems like the only way to grab data is through a JSON payload. I may be wrong in this. If someone has better experience in the context of Google Drive API, I encourage you to comment down below a troubleshoot for this. I just found I wasn't able to directly get a PDF. And on top of that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this step one step further. I'm gonna use a software called Cloud Convert in order to convert it based off the PDF's link or the presentation's link. That didn't work, but we don't have to worry about that because we can do one alternative to all of this. And we can kind of go with our original route where since it's already made as a presentation, you can either one manually export it by just doing a simple file export, or we can go ahead and just share the PDF directly. And the way we can do this is, let's just say we set up a Gmail block on the next flow here. And with this Gmail block, we're going to go ahead and just send it to the client that we had. So I'm going to go ahead and just say send email here. What we can do is post call. We can set it up where we can automatically share the presentation if you choose to go this route. So I'm going to continue here, choose our email account just so we can see it. I'm going to go ahead and just send it to myself. I say I'm going to do courses. This would be the underlying lead email that we just received. I'm going to hit X here. I'm going to go ahead and just put in the link. So the way that this link is structured, because Google structures everything the same in the context of download links, we're going to go ahead and say test lead, and the link we're going to provide, I went ahead and found it. And what's great is since we found the presentation, we just need to change one little variable here. So we got the presentation, and as you'll see here, this is the underlying ID that we found in the earlier step here. So if I come over down here to find presentation and come to ID, I can go ahead and click that. Therefore, every single time this runs through, it will automatically grab the correct presentation. And you can add this link now. On top of this, Gmail handles HTML, so we could make this so it's not the entire link and it's just a button that says learn more. I'm going to continue here, test this step so we can kind of see it in the front end. All right, so as you see here, it gets attached and it's put down here as well. You can go and click it here, and then we should have it pulled up here with the unique and specific PDF to our underlying client in that context. Now, there's 2 options to troubleshoot the issue of it not being a PDF. The first one is just manually going in and just real quickly exporting it and then sending it. The second one is going to be, maybe there is a way to troubleshoot the API documentation. From what I saw, it seems like the payload was only in JSON format. Last thing I want to point out here is that typically transcripts are provided in that folder pretty fast. So after a call, it'll probably be within that folder within 10 to 15 minutes. So if you don't want it so that the individual receives this lead PDF right away, you can add a delay block here, or maybe instead of sending it like right when it happens, like 10 minutes after the call, we add a delay block here where we give ourselves a little bit of leeway, and we're going to say, delay for 30 minutes and then send this PDF, maybe make it feel a little bit more unique. In that context, we can just do 30, and then we can choose the time of minutes. On top of that, for that Gmail that you just saw, you can customize it. You can add a ton of stuff. You can add a signature. There's so much more stuff you can do here. But for now, this should conclude today's video showing you how to automatically create lead PDFs with a free software of Google Slides and, kind of scale with that and kind of proceed from there. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure to leave a like, and it really helps me here at OpenAI, and it lets me know you want more complex tutorials of this topic. If you want to see more content like this, I'm going to leave a playlist at the end here called Zapier to 5,000 apps. I show different ways you can integrate AI in all business operations. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for tuning in. And yes, surprise, I'm an AI avatar. Make sure to explore more here at Corbin AI, where we demystify AI for your personal and business life. Until next time.